Our next movie gets a bit more serious. It is the movie National Champions. Now, when I saw the previews for this, I honestly thought it was going to play out as a documentary. I thought it was something that was like actually really happening as it was dealing with actual players. So it was just, it was my first instinct to just think of it as a documentary. And it ended up being like part movie, part mockumentary a little bit, because this was all taking place in 2022, which, yeah, we're only a few days away from that, but at the same time in the movie, it had a little bit of ways to go before we were at that point. It really presented its story. I'm just honestly kind of surprised how balanced it was. It showed that these players that were going to the national championships, it was the Cougars versus the Wolves. And these players that are getting ready to go and just have this one chance at stardom, fame, and possibly NFL chances, and just kind of the whole bit, they're boycotting the game because they're demanding that these players that are playing for college football be recognized as employees and not as student athletes. They had a lot of lifetime injuries and different problems that occur from the years that they have played football. They don't really have anything to fall back on, so they want some income because, I mean, they see what NFL players and people like that make, and even what the NCAA, the heads of the NCAA, and well, not even just the heads, but like all the different layers of the NCAA and the millions of dollars that just get thrown around. So they're like, okay, we want our piece of this. And at first glance, it's like that seems like a fair ask, but as this plays out, you quickly realize it's not that cut and dry. This is a much deeper problem, because the money that would go to pay these college athletes, if they were to be paid like pro college players, would technically break the system, and it would impact people across the board. You see, the money that goes into these programs doesn't just affect football. It affects all these other teams and all these other sports from high school on up, because of the recruiting and scholarships and things like that, just kind of across the board. So by doing that, yes, one side is benefiting, but it's crippling the rest of the possibilities for these other sports and stuff that are out there. And like I said, it really plays this out, and it really balances it well. It does kind of cross a line that many will find offensive, because there's a lot of infidelity and adultery happening. There's a lot of drug use happening. This is not a movie that I would recommend to all football fans, kind of like what I was recommending just off the trailer. As it plays out, it's actually a lot harder to watch, because it's probably very realistic of how this happens, but at the same time, it's challenging the whole idea of how this has been happening for generations. These college athletes, they get a full ride at these top universities. They get the best education. They get to travel the country, and they get to do all these different things just for being good at football. Yet they want so much more. I don't know. I honestly was really torn on this by the end of this movie, because you could definitely feel where these players were coming from and what they were asking, but you could also realize that it's not just a simple fix. It's not just, okay, sign a contract, we're going to change how this happens. It's raw, it's deep, it's difficult to watch at times. But in that same thing, there was something powerful about this, that it's the start of a discussion that's going to go on for a long time. Now, you may be wondering what I gave this on the deputy scale. I did give National Champions a 5.5, so 5.5 on the deputy scale. The system is obviously broken and it needs to be fixed, but it's not going to be a simple fix. It's not as simple as just sign on the dotted line and it's done. It goes so much deeper and so much further with these outreaches than what you would initially expect. And what happens because of that? What's going to happen to their careers? What's going to happen to their lives, to their education? What's going to happen to the scholarships for all these other athletes and all these other sports that aren't football? It's a broken system that needs to be overhauled, but it's not going to be an easy fix. There is a hashtag in the movie. It says hashtag fix the system. And yes, it probably very much needs to be fixed and overhauled. It's not going to happen overnight. If you are a huge football fan and you're kind of familiar with how things go on behind the scenes and how everything plays out, or if you've grown up playing high school or college football, you may appreciate more of this. If you are not a ride or die football fan, this one is definitely not going to be for you. I struggle on recommending it to a wide variety of an audience. Some of the topics that they touch on are just really overly sensitive for the situation. But like I said, if you're a diehard ride or die football fan, you might like this. If not, I would definitely avoid it.